Can anybody see or hear me now? Hello? I have been sitting here for the past half an hour going through all of your questions and responding to them, and only to find out that no one can see or hear me. And I don't know why. Oh, yay! JV can hear me and see me. Guys, I am so sorry. Thank you for being so patient. I know a lot of people left. I had no idea what I was doing. And I was literally sitting here going through each of your questions, giving long ass answers, pardon my language, responses like really in depth and really oh my god, and nobody could hear me or see me. So Mitchie says can see me but no sound. I'm not sure why that is, Mitchie. Let's see. I'm not sure why you can't hear, Mitchie. Volume up. Okay, I'm just gonna let people on Twitter know that this is working now because I just gotta let them know. Let's see. Twitter. My computer's being really slow too, which is not helping the situation. But I guess if you guys want, I can go back and go through all the questions. Let's see, working now. Borderline babe, I just got your tweet about how it's not funny, but it's funny that I've been sitting here literally talking to myself for like a half an hour, like getting so into it and being so in depth, and then I wasn't getting any feedback or any like responses to what I was saying. So I was thinking, wow, I must not really be on today. Like people must not be feeling what I'm saying. But meanwhile, you guys couldn't even see or hear me. How embarrassing. Okay, so I'm just going to ask you guys, can you let me know right now? Just type in, would you like me to start over from the, thank you, Jason, from the beginning? All right, Mitchie, I'm glad you can hear now. Would you like me to start over from the beginning with the questions that you already asked, or should we just start fresh slate now? Oh, borderline babe. Maybe log out and back in if you are still having trouble. So I'm not sure why borderline babe can't see or hear. I'm just thinking I had to log back out and back in and now it's working, so. Okay. I'm gonna go to the beginning then and start answering the questions that you guys, you don't even know how like much I was saying. Okay. Rachel, can you hear me? I just want to make sure that Rachel's still here and that she can hear me before I start answering her questions. Because Rachel was one of the first. Let's see. And then I also want to make sure that Jason is here and that you can hear me and or see me, because I'm going to answer your question as well, because you guys kind of had some things along the same lines with abandonment and rejection. No, no, Linda, you don't have to figure out Twitter how to do this. I was just saying that I was sending out the link to people on Twitter to let them know it was finally working for the most part. You don't have to go on Twitter, don't worry. So let's see. All right, I'm just going to start answering questions. Hi, Elizabeth. I hope you're still here. Probably not. Let's see. So a lot of the questions that you guys asked early on, unfortunately, because I was technically incompetent using this for the first time, are completely gone. But I will say that I can remember some of Jason's and Rachel's questions around how do I get over the feeling of being abandoned, that all of the intensity and the emotion that comes with that, or feeling rejected. And I hope that borderline babe can handle this too, because I'm pretty sure she also had something along these lines. Hey Mitchie, I'm glad it worked. Yay. Hi Jason. Hey Rachel. Okay, what about borderline babe? Are you there? Because this was one of your issues too, and I don't want you to feel left out. Refresh worked. Yay, Linda. Okay, I'm going to do some really embarrassing dance moves here in response due to the excitement. Yay! Okay, all right, we're here. Oh my God, you guys rule. You guys are so awesome for sticking it out. Thank you, because this was just, I was saying, and you probably couldn't hear me, that this was a really impulse thing. I just heard that people were doing this, and I said, oh, let me try it. So there aren't really that many people here, just whoever happened to be on Twitter or Facebook and saw that I was coming on. So maybe next time, now that we know that refresh works and a couple of other technical things, I switched to Chrome from Firefox, which is a bunch of jargon to a lot of you, but well, I shouldn't say that. We all know what browsers are. I don't even know why I said that. But you know what I mean. I tried switching and that helped, and then so we don't have a ton of people here because this was not pre-planned. So anyway, it's more intimate and I can get to each of your questions a lot more easily probably than if it were a planned event. We had a ton of people, so we'll just use this space and time. I'll let you guys know I have about 20 to 30 minutes, maybe a little bit more before I have to go and make dinner. So let me just start out by saying thank you so much for coming. I'm so excited to be with you. I'm really proud of all of you for the hard work that you're doing. Having borderline personality disorder is not easy, to say the least, and excuse me, and we need hope. We don't need people telling us that, that this is a hopeless cause, or that we can't get better, or that it's not worth it, or that we're this, that, or the other thing. No. People that are borderline, people that are emotionally sensitive, dysregulated, are hurting people. We tend to be a people that experience things so extremely intensely, and don't know what to do with those feelings or how to handle them, and then we end up acting out and doing things that either hurt ourselves, hurt relationships, sabotage circumstances in our lives, all of that kind of stuff. And I think anyone who is, hi Ash, um, anyone who is here, or connecting on Twitter or connecting on Facebook or whatever, reading my blog, are doing it because they want to be well. They want the hope. They want to know that they can overcome it. And I just want to let you know that you can, no matter what anyone's told you in the past. I'm your peer. I've been to hell and back, and I literally mean it. And so now all I want to do is really help. Oh, Rachel, don't cry. Oh, you can cry if you need to. Um, all I really want to do now going forward is to continue to help people, to bring hope to as many people as I can who are suffering, especially if you're like really, really in the pit of hell with this whole disorder, because I know what that's like. And I don't want you to feel like you're alone, because you're not. You're just absolutely not, okay? So, that being said, I had some questions early on. I just see the smiley face next to Ashes with the big eyes, and it's making me laugh. But I had some questions early on from Jason and Rachel, and then Borderline Babe kind of chimed in, and they were about, how do I get over feeling rejected, or how do I get over feelings of abandonment? And I gave a long ass answer, and I'm just going to try to summarize it again here, hopefully without losing the elements of what I said when I originally said it and none of you could see or hear me, which I apologize again for. But I think when it comes to rejection and abandonment, and this is the part that sucks, but obviously we can't completely avoid that in our lives. We can't completely avoid the fact that we may be rejected, that some people may not like us or want anything to do with us, or that some people may leave, or, leave our lives and stuff like that. As emotionally sensitive people, a lot of us who have experienced abandonment and rejection in serious, really, really difficult ways, especially even younger as children, find that really hard to cope with. I mean, I don't know if you're anything like me, and criticism too, Mitchie, you're right. Uh, it's just really difficult, and it's more difficult than for the average person who may not have issues with feeling emotionally dysregulated, or who may not have the intense response to being afraid of being abandoned or rejected. I was saying earlier on that we can be so hyper aware, and I think Ash can back me up on this because we've talked about it before. We can be so hyper aware to people's facial expressions or their body language or their mood, and it may have absolutely nothing to do with us, but we may get terrified and start getting these thoughts, and then we start believing the stories and behaving as if those stories are real, like just jumping from thinking a thought. Okay, so for example, oh, my significant other is supposed to be home. I told him I was cooking something nice for dinner tonight. It's a half an hour past the time he's supposed to be here. I haven't gotten a call. Okay, so my thought could jump to, he's left me. He's finally realized what a complete and total beep I am. I'm messed up. I'm mental. He doesn't want to deal with me anymore. He's left. He's not coming home. He's not coming back. He doesn't love me anymore. Like, my mind would go there. And then I would so believe, like seriously believe these things that I was telling myself. And maybe you can totally relate because it's still happening to you. And I still honestly have those thoughts sometimes when things like that happen, like fearful thoughts of what I believe are indications that someone's going to reject me, or even worse, abandon me. Um, but because I've been practicing the skills, I'm able to better slow it down, guys. You know what I mean? And I have this hope for you because honestly, where I was even 3 years ago is completely, not completely, but has radically changed for the positive in terms of being able to cope and handle thoughts and situations that I never thought I could. I thought I was just doomed for the rest of my life to just have to suffer and have re-experience the same crap of feeling abandoned and feeling rejected. So it's not to say that we're never going to have that experience. It's not to say that that it's just not ever going to happen again with someone in our lives, but you can learn ways to cope and learn ways to handle it and learn ways to love yourself and to feel safe and comfortable in knowing that most of the time that isn't happening. It's just our fear, it's just our worries, it's just based on our past trauma or what have you, things of that nature. And you can handle it, you can get through it. And each time you allow yourself to have the experience, like let's say the call doesn't come, and you allow yourself to calm down and use the skills, and then so and so comes home, or this, it was just like nothing to do with you, nothing to do with abandonment or rejection. You're gonna build your emotional skin so much thicker. You know what I mean? It's like each time that thing does not happen that you are so afraid of, and in the meantime you are able to keep it together and not lose control and not sabotage and not hurt yourself and not do other destructive things, and then realizing that there is no abandonment happening, there is no rejection happening. You're going to get stronger, and each time it's going to get easier. That's been the pattern for me. So I went from totally not being able to handle him going away and like ending up in the emergency room and going to the hospital and feeling suicidal. Sorry to just come out and say it, but as I did in the video, to now kind of like looking forward a little bit to the time when I know he's going away on business. Not because I don't love him or don't want him around, not because I enjoy being alone all that much. There was a time in my life that I never thought I could enjoy being by myself for any length of time, forget a week. But because even though the first couple of days are initially very emotional for me, you'll see me on Twitter kind of like expressing that and feeling a bit not rejected or abandoned anymore, really, but just kind of sad and discombobulated, and my whole schedule gets changed and my pattern of things and the way things are. You get used to it when you live with somebody. You have your ways and you have your schedules and things you do together. And so I get discombobulated for maybe the first day or the second day. And then I kind of like enjoy having the time to myself, which is just completely a miracle to me. It's completely foreign that I would actually enjoy being home by myself. So I hope that helped in some way. I hope that answered it in some way. I'm going to scroll down and look through your questions and your feedback here. So Ash relates, and let's see. I feel like people fail if I don't make. I feel like I fail people if I don't make someone happy. I hear that, Rachel, and we can't. It's just I spend so much energy trying to people please, and for me it was part of the disorder, part of the identity component of trying to be what I thought other people wanted me to be, or make sure that everyone's happy all the time and everyone likes me. And it's very exhausting. It's very exhausting to try to keep up with that, and eventually, like myself, maybe you'll get to the point where you're like, I can't do this anymore, so I need to try something else. So I hope I'm not pronouncing this terribly wrong, but I must be pronouncing it wrong. God forgive me. I'm so sorry. ASHESMLA is asking, how do you deal with the empty nest syndrome being a BPD survivor? Anyone ever have experience with that? So I'll let you guys chat among yourselves about that because I can't really relate to an empty nest experience personally. And Borderline Babe was talking about complete paranoia taking over, and I'm wondering if that's about when somebody goes away that maybe you live with or spend a lot of time with at home because, transient stress induced paranoia is a part of borderline personality disorder. It is a symptom or criteria that can show up, and it has for me to where, ordinary sounds and creaks and, different sounds in the house that I would totally not even notice or maybe would and just would like write off if I'm all alone, my mind just goes nuts. And I've even called like the fire department and stuff like that. So, yeah, definitely have had that experience that where the paranoia takes over. But there are ways that we can ground ourselves. We can say, okay, what are the odds this is really happening? Am I really just nervous right now? Am I freaking out? Am I feeling anxious? Is this happening because I'm alone right now? Type of thing, and kind of talk ourselves down from it. And that's what I try to do now so that it doesn't escalate to the point of like calling 911 because it has in the past. So I totally get that. And let's see. Jason, how did I cope with the rejection? Rejection hurts. It hurts really, really badly. And I think it hurts for anyone, whether they have some type of disorder or not, just for humanity, for people. It hurts to be rejected. It hurts when we're not received by people that we hope will receive us or that we're not liked. Um, Over the years, what's helped is just really trying not to take things as personally, trying to, and for lack of a better way of saying it for myself, realize that the world doesn't revolve around me. Because being really emotionally sensitive, we do tend, well, maybe some of you can relate. A lot of people I know that are emotionally sensitive have told me that they can relate to everything that happens around me seems to be about me, like people's moods, facial expressions, decisions, just all kinds of things. And it's not really always about us. We're just hyper vigilant. And for me, and maybe you guys can relate to this too, a lot of that comes from childhood, especially if there was trauma or violence or, problems like that in the home as a kid, where you had to be kind of like on red alert for your safety. You kind of had to be really aware of what was going on and kind of notice how your caregivers were behaving and if their mood was changing and if their facial expressions were changing. So that was a survival and coping mechanism that your brain was wise enough to develop, at a time when you really needed it. But now it doesn't really serve us as much as adults because those things really aren't happening as, hopefully in the way that they were as we were kids, but we're still kind of like in that mindset of this is going to happen and I'm worried and I'm afraid and this is, so it's about changing the tape really. And for me that's been through learning the DBT skills, which honestly in the beginning I really didn't think were going to work, but I was so desperate for something to work that I said I'm just going to completely throw myself into these skills. Like how could it possibly help my life at all to distract myself by like doing a crossword puzzle, like all these things that they teach you, but honestly it really does work, obviously. So I encourage you, as silly as it may seem at times, to just stick with trying these skills to cope with the feelings of rejection, to cope with the feelings of abandonment, to check out the facts, to see if in fact you really are experiencing that or if maybe an old wound has been opened, and it feels really intense and real like something's happening now, but actually an old wound's but it's been opened up, and that's what you're experiencing, and that's what needs the healing and attention. Maybe you're completely safe now, and nothing is really actually happening. You're just dealing with past trauma. So, let's see. Borderline babe. What if you can't seem to get your head from the stage of knowing to grab a tool and use it and actually use it? Like, I know I should draw or something, but I can't make myself. What is that? So many people ask that in the DBT groups, and I remember asking that in the beginning too. It's like, what do you do if, you're learning these skills and you kind of have this toolbox of things that you want to turn to so that you don't self-harm, so that you don't like totally blow up and sabotage or do something that you're going to regret because the emotion and feeling is so intense and you just want to feel better in that second, but you're trying to shift from things that you've been doing all along because they're not working for you anymore. Like they might make you feel better in the moment, but then you deal with the shame and the guilt and wanting to be a healthier person. Um, so for me, I mean, as silly as it sounds and as simple as it sounds, carrying the skills with me at all times, like on my website, there's a DBT skills cheat sheet that you can print up, fold it up, carry it in your purse. Guys, put it in your wallet. And when you're sitting there and you're starting to feel overwhelmed and you're starting to feel like you're about to do something that you really don't want to do, like in the moment it sounds good because you're going to feel better for a few minutes, but honestly, in the long run, you're hoping to change that behavior. Pull out the skills. It's so hard to think rationally and to remember these things when you're escalated, when you're really emotionally dysregulated and not feeling well. So I totally get that. You go blank, you know what I mean? And then you just go for the first thing that makes you feel better. And oftentimes that is the thing that is hurting you and that you're trying not to do. So carry the skills with you. Maybe come up with a self-soothe or emotional regulation crisis kit that you carry around with you with something in there to hold that feels good for self-soothing through touch, something for taste, something through smell. Like for the longest time, I carried a cinnamon stick in my purse and a baggie. Um, I get like a lip balm that has all natural oils that smells like coconut. So you kind of have to think of what will work for you. And then you have to think, okay, that sounds really ridiculous because when I'm about to flip out and I feel like doing something that is just off the charts, how is sitting there and sniffing a stick of cinnamon going to help me? And I totally get that. But I'm just asking you guys based on my personal progress and ability to really overcome a lot, guys, seriously, with these symptoms, to just like trust the process and give it a chance, because the more you trust it with the little things like sniffing cinnamon when you're feeling distressed, the more you're going to trust it with the big things, and that's when you're going to see the really big changes in your life. And you'll see big changes and small changes as you go, even taking little risks and trying the skills. So it's really awesome how things start to change. And then let's see. I'm just scrolling down because you guys have a lot of posts on here and I have to catch up. Yeah, Ash, we're not mind readers. We may think we are, but it's those interpretations that often I'm sure you can relate, all of you guys, that get us in trouble is because we believe what we think the other person is thinking or feeling and act accordingly to that rather than possibly reality, and then we get ourselves in emotional trouble and hurt. So let's see. Borderline Babe says she can't wait to get to that stage, and I'm not exactly sure what it was because I was blabbing so much and not looking to the side, so now I'm catching up with you guys. It is easy to get stuck in the loop, JB. That is true. And it's possible to love people and to want to do well and to want to connect and please others and all of that stuff from a really good place in your heart, not even just trying to be a BPD chameleon and trying to please others, but like a really true and genuine, authentic place in your heart, wanting to love others and have them love you and to fit in and not be rejected. And it is easy to get stuck in the loop too with the tendencies and the things that come up for us. Linda, you can relate to because your husband travels on business. Totally. Yeah. That's a huge one for a lot of us who have family members or spouses that go away either for, business or to meet with family. And just we're stuck at that point being alone with ourselves and our own thoughts. And it's like you have to get. It's about building yourself up to a point where you can handle that, tolerate it, and possibly even enjoy it, which, like I said, it can be possible. Ah. Oh, Jason, I'm not sure what's happening with the ads. You'll have to let me know what's going on with that. Ashes MLA. Ashes MLA. That's your name. Oh my god. Thank you for the smiley face. I'm sorry for the mispronunciation there. That was too funny. Okay. Borderline Babe says she makes insane accusations over nothing, like the stupidest situation, and just my paranoia goes off. I don't know if you saw my latest video, Borderline Babe, or if you've had a chance to read my first book, but I talk about when I got married. I was 18 years old, my husband was 30, and I didn't even get into it this much in the book actually, but there were times that honest to goodness, like he would just look the wrong way or be home late or he would look at someone on TV a certain way or whatever, and like the paranoia would be like, oh my God, he's cheating on me. Oh my God, he's not interested in me sexually anymore. That's the kind of woman he really likes because he's really been looking at her. And like I would have all of those thoughts coming up, and again, really believe them, get pissed off, angry, act out at him, and he wouldn't even know like where it was coming from or what the heck was going on because it was all in my head. Like the stories I was telling myself, getting paranoid, believing, and totally going off on him and reacting and accusing him of things. Now, sometimes things really were happening, but most of the time it was just like this level of paranoia from the stress. And yeah, so I totally get that. And then Mitchie says, I struggled to find constructive things to do, then cut and get angry with myself, then suicidal. You know, I think, I'm sorry, Mitchie, that that happens because that's really painful. And I know that you don't, obviously, you're here because you want to change these things that have been harmful to you. And, you know, maybe you just kind of feel stuck because you struggle to find things, like you said. So, same thing as I told Borderline Babe earlier, it's crazy as it might sound, like when you're getting ready to do something like that, you're probably thinking to yourself, yeah, like I'm really going to sit there and pull out this thing to work on or go for a walk or, you know, practice this skill. But if you can push yourself, and it's hard, man, when like at the beginning it seems impossible. You're like about to do something, right? And then you're like, okay, I'm going to take my deep breaths now and go and do the mindfulness meditation track. It sounds impossible, and it seemed like it for me too, but like you have to sit your butt down and do, you know, the actual thing that's supposed to distract you or soothe you or take you away from the behavior that you're not wanting to do, and watch how it works. Just watch how it works. It's like so amazing. And then you're going to build your confidence for next time to know that when those urges, feelings, the intensity come up, you're not a victim of the whims of those kinds of thoughts and emotions. You know what I mean? Like you're not obligated to follow through on those. You have other choices, and you can choose those things for yourself and watch your life change in that way. So hopefully that helped. Deep breath. Ash asks me what would I say, let's see, would you say any DBT module is the most important one or are all equally helpful? I would say it depends on where you are emotionally and what your goals are, what you want to get out of DBT. Because we have emotion regulation, which is a huge one. If we can't regulate our emotions, then we're just flying off the handle, and things are too intense, and we can be like extremely sad, extremely angry, extremely anxious, extremely this, that, the other thing, and we're never really able to be stable, and we're acting from this emotional place where you really can't think straight and be rational. So if that's where your main issue is, I would say that module would be the most helpful. Distress tolerance, if you're the type of person who has very low tolerance for stress. So, maybe you're having a good day and then something happens, you spill a coffee on your work paper or something like that, and like you're like, that's it, that's the end of the day, the whole day is screwed. Very low tolerance for handling things, and distress tolerance might be a good place to start. Interpersonal effectiveness is another module. So if working on relationships and being able to maintain relationships, whether they're friendships, intimate relationships, relationships with family members, if that's where you really struggle, if that's where you have a lot of communication issues or difficulty dealing with people, especially people who may have different opinions or viewpoints, people that are maybe judgmental, people that don't respect you, people that you feel try to walk all over you, people that treat you differently because you have a mental illness. And also just advocating for yourself, learning to be assertive, so you're not on the one extreme being aggressive, and that you're not on the other, can I get in there, being passive. You know what I mean? It helps you find that middle ground of being assertive. So that's interpersonal effectiveness. And then the mindfulness module, The way they do it at the clinic that I go to, maybe you guys have it, it's probably the same everywhere, that in between each of those other modules that I just mentioned, they go back to mindfulness. And that's really like the basis of it all. I will tell you there are a lot of like Zen Buddhist principles in there. It's not a religious thing, but you'll see just more about like being mindful and being calm and paying attention and all of that stuff that is usually very helpful and calming to anyone, regardless of any type of affiliation you might have. Um, so learning to sit, if you have trouble sitting with your thoughts or sitting quietly or paying attention or sticking with things, then I think the mindfulness is also a place that you might want to start and that could be really helpful. So let's see. I mean, I don't blame you, borderline babe, for being bitter, for having borderline personality disorder. I mean, it's such a complex thing that I couldn't even begin to say, oh, this is why you have it. I'm not a doctor to begin with, not a therapist. I'm just up here, just someone like you guys. But we do know from studies and information that's out there that a lot of people develop this because of early experiences in life with not receiving the validation that they um, really needed to get at certain periods of their life, feeling rejected, being abandoned by a caregiver, abusive situations, and trauma. And I know it's hard to forgive your mom, and I know it's hard to accept it, but I think that I've also been through that. Like it's taken forever for me to forgive my parents. I'm not even sure, honestly, if I'm completely honest with myself and you guys, that I have completely forgiven. But I just don't see any benefit emotionally, spiritually, physically to holding on to that and continuing to be angry and lash out, because everything has cause and it doesn't make it right and it doesn't make it okay and it doesn't mean that it was good that it happened to you, or that that that's the way that you deserve to be brought up or anything like that. But to accept that it was what it was, and that for me, I don't know your story, borderline babes, so I don't want to assume anything. But with my mom, I know she was very young, very emotionally hurt, lost her dad when she was very young, didn't have a lot of guidance, probably. I, really didn't get a lot of validation, and so she was coming from a place of not having the tools already. I'm not saying it's an excuse or justifying that people shouldn't try to be better parents than, but some people just that's all they have. That's all they're equipped with, and that's what they come to us with, and then they have their children, and then, unfortunately sometimes we end up, developing a disorder or something because things weren't taken care of early on in the beginning stages of life. Um, but I hope this makes sense. I just don't think it's helpful to you and your heart, love, to continue to be angry at her and to lash out, because there's nothing we can do about the past. We just, for me, I have to accept it for what it was. Doesn't mean I approve it, doesn't mean I like it, doesn't mean that I'm all excited that I grew up in that kind of environment and that these things happened to me, obviously, but I accept that it happened. And once you accept that it happened and accept that you went through that and that you suffered and that those things had been done to you and that you were exposed to things and that you didn't get the validation, didn't get all these things that you really needed and deserved as a precious young child. Once you accept that, then you allow space, then you're at a point where you can say, okay, well, here I am now. I'm in my 20s, I'm in my 30s, wherever you're at, and I'm ready to take charge of my life now. I'm ready to take control. I'm ready to learn these skills. I'm ready to do what it takes, because I can't change the past. I can't fix it. It doesn't matter how much time I think I've wasted. But from this point on, I can take control and I can make a difference in my life, and I can radically change it and turn it into what I want it to be, because it's my choice now. I'm an adult. You know what I mean? And so I hope that makes sense and encourages you. And I totally want to let you know also that I totally validate your feelings about your mom and having the bitterness and the anger, because who wouldn't, honestly? Who wouldn't? So it's just a matter of how long do you want to hold on to that? Is it really doing anything for you? And how could your life really change and get better if you're able to kind of like put that behind you as much as possible? Because you can't go back in time and fix it. You know what I mean? Let's see. Oh, Ash is saying that she has the DBT app and that helps her get over that blank feeling of not knowing which skill to use. That DBT app rocks. I wish they had it for Android and maybe they do by now. But you actually go in and put in what your situation is and it walks you through like a tree of options and choices and suggests what skills to use, which is rather awesome. So definitely look into that. It's the DBT app. It's I have it on my iPad. They have it for iPhone. I don't think they have it for Android yet. Ash, if I'm wrong, chime in please and say something. Let's see. I have to wrap up in a few minutes, but I don't want to leave anyone out. So let's see. Just scrolling through your comments, guys. Okay. Borderline Babe asks if self soothing is the biggest DBT skill for me because it seems like I use it most via Twitter. I think so. I think self soothing and opposite action. So, self soothing is making yourself feel better through one of the five senses. Like I have all of these what I call potions in my shower, which is my sanctuary. So I have body washes and lotions and scrubs and shampoos, and I'm trying to really buy all natural things now so that I can feel like I'm authentically smelling coconut and orange and all that stuff. Those things really help me feel better, especially after a really bad day. Because honestly, I have severe PMS, which is called PMDD, and I'm using opposite action right now, being on here with you guys, because I wanted to just crawl in bed and just call it a day, which isn't always a horrible thing to do, but I just, and I'm feeling so much better. Like, it's just so energized from being with you guys and interacting. So, opposite action and soothing through my senses. Um, I love at night curling up with a blanket, like a really soft blanket on the couch, and having my two cats with me and watching some TV and maybe sipping some decaffeinated tea. Like those things that we don't think to give ourselves that seem so minor that we don't think are going to make a difference. You can become obsessed with self soothing, believe me. And at one point, I got like kind of like feeling guilty thinking I was overindulging, you know what I mean? Like just focusing too much on doing those things. So then you could pull it back if you think that you're spending your whole day 24/7 for like a week only self-soothing. But yeah, I do. That is a tool that I resort to all day long in one form or another. And opposite action has been huge too. And that's when you do the opposite of what the emotion says. So if you're feeling depressed and the urge is to isolate, the opposite action would be to actually not isolate, get with people. Even if it's something like this, connecting with people from around the world online, or going down to Starbucks and having a coffee, being around people, calling a friend if you have connections right now, or a family or something like that. So just doing the opposite of what the emotion calls for if you want to change that emotion is a huge, huge skill that's been helpful to me. And Jason, you want to find out more about the emotional crisis kit? I have a post on my blog. I don't know if any of you guys can find the link and maybe put it in here. I don't know if it will let you post links, but it's like if you go to the archives on my blog and look for the 911 DBT skills, I believe there's something there. And then there's another one, something like create your own DBT self-soothe kit. And I just talk about just some ideas of what you can put in for each of the senses, of a little thing you can carry around with you. So hopefully that will help. Oh, the stage of enjoying time alone. You hope you can get to that point, borderline babe. You will. I believe you will. I know it's really hard for you when your loved one goes away, and I've been there. And God, if I can actually enjoy time alone, you can too. And I do believe that because it was something I just never really expected to be a reality or even a possibility for me. The survival kit, Linda. Yeah, I think you guys should all make a self-soothing or survival kit, or at least consider it and send me a picture or put it on my Facebook or tweet it to me. I would love to see what you come up with and what you choose for each of those areas personally, because it'll be different for Linda. It'll be different for Jason. Ash is going to have something different in her kit, Borderline Babe, my kit. So I'm just curious. I'm really curious. What you can do is you can create a virtual self-soothe kit too. So if you start an account on Pinterest, or if you have a Pinterest account, you can start a board like I did for self-soothing. You guys have to check out my Pinterest boards if you haven't already, if you want to get some ideas like this, because I have a lot of boards and one of them is self-soothing. So what might be self-soothing to me may be like total like what are you talking about to you? But like I have a lot of pictures of animals and cozy scenes and different things like that. And I will literally go on to Pinterest and look at my self-soothing board. And you can do that too nowadays on your smartphone. So if you always have your phone with you and you needing self-soothing or you needing distract ideas, go look at what you've pinned. You know what I mean? You can pin ideas for skills onto that and have that with you everywhere you go. So that can help a lot. Oh, Rachel, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that you lost your dad and it hasn't even been that long and oh God, I'm gonna cry. Oh my God. Okay. Um, I totally understand that, and I also lost my dad. I was much younger when this happened, and I know the pain of that. And I hear that you saw him as your protector and your hero, and I'm just really sad. I think we all can relate to what it's like to lose a loved one. There's just no easy answer or anything to say to that. Um, I don't really have a personal religious, spiritual philosophy completely all together yet, but I'd like to believe in my heart that in some way, shape, or form, he still is your protector and your hero, Rachel. Um, Thank you for sharing that with us. That's a really difficult place to be in, and emotional, and my gosh, I don't even can't even say anything else about that. Um, wow, that's heavy. I'm sorry you're going through that, and we're all sorry to hear that. Jason, as far as UStream, I this is my very, very first session. I don't know if you guys think I should do it again. I'd love to if people are interested. I'm having fun. I'm like going past the time I said I was gonna have to make dinner. I'm gonna stay on until let's say 5 o'clock Pacific time, which is in about 17 minutes or so. And then I'm gonna have to sign off and really go make dinner. But if you guys are interested, yes, I will, come up with another day and time and let you guys know and we can do this again. So let's see. Um, Borderline Babe, when you're asking about the book, were you asking about my books, love, or did somebody else mention a book that you were hoping that would be helpful to you? Let me know. I'll mention my books. I get so uncomfortable doing it, and I don't know why, because my intention with putting them out there is to help people, but I have one called Healing from Borderline Personality Disorder: My Journey Out of Hell through Dialectical Behavior Therapy, and that's on smashwords.com, Amazon, Barnes& and Noble, all those good places. And the second one is called the DBT Challenge for short. So Ash knows about that one. She has a lot of great videos where she talks about actually applying each of the skills for a full 31 days. So if you go to healingfrombpd.org in the upper left, there's like a button that you can press. This says check out my books, and you can get more information there. And hopefully, they will continue to help people. I've been noticing that people from around the world have been reading them, which is absolutely amazing. Let's see. JB talks about doing the accusations in the head and then changing the behavior and sometimes acting passive aggressively. We talked about that. I mean, who cannot relate to that happening? So totally get that. And then Ash's MLA as is asking, do you ever get a time or do you ever have a time when home was the only safe place? How did you get out of it? Yeah, I did for a while, and it's kind of, I don't know if it was actually agoraphobia, but agoraphobia is when it can mean different things for different people, but for me, I was thinking it means, not wanting to leave the house. Um, the only way that I really started to get over it was pushing myself to get out of the house, literally, whether it was just like walking to the end of the driveway and back, or just going to the post office, or and then the next day maybe going a little bit further. For me, it was about like the opposite action again, because if you feel like home is the only safe place and it's based on the emotion of fear, and the fear is what does what? It paralyzes us. So if we do the opposite of being paralyzed, which is movement and getting out there and doing what we need to do, opposite action, then that can help with that. So hopefully that's helpful to you. Also, I would definitely talk to your therapist, because if you are becoming agoraphobic, there are lots of other like clinical things that they can do to help you to work on that. But the one I'm most aware of is exposure therapy, where you actually get out of the house and do the opposite of the urge to stay inside. But I totally get that. You baked cookies, borderline babe. You walked away and baked cookies. See, like this is you can be practicing the skills and not even know it. Walking away when you feel like really just like going off, or baking cookies, which is distracting and it's soothing through the sense of smell, it's soothing through the sense of taste. Eventually, these are skillful ways to use your time, as opposed to other things that we may not want to be doing anymore. Let's see. Oh my. It sounds like for Borderline Babe, the distress tolerance is the module that she most needs in her life right now, probably based on the description I gave a little while back about each of the four modules. Oh, Borderline, thank you for the feedback of appreciating that I go so in depth, because I'm feeling a little self conscious thinking, am I overdoing it? You know what I mean? Am I saying too much and annoying people? So I appreciate that feedback. Thank you. Rachel, I'm glad too that you feel that way. Borderline babes, so it sounds like our moms have a lot in common, and so, yeah. Let's see. Radical acceptance for Darlin. Yes, that's a huge, huge skill. Uh, I think you were picking up when I was saying that we don't have to like something, we don't have to approve of it, but in order to get past it and move forward in our healing, there is a time when we have to just accept the fact that it happened. Mitzi, I'm so sorry. That's a lot to have gone through. That is a ton to have gone through. And I just wanted to just reassure you and remind you that it doesn't mean that you're going to be. I'm sorry, I'm distracted by my own disgusting lip gloss line, which is really insensitive based on the item that I'm about to respond to. Sorry, guys, about that. Um, I'm sorry that you went through all of that rejection and all of the things that you have experienced, but I want you to know it doesn't have to be that way forever, and it's not going to be that way forever. You are going to come across many people in your life, and it's not going to stay like this forever. You were and are a precious kid, borderline babe. Let's see. Yeah, Rachel saying it took her a long time to separate out acceptance versus approval. Darlin, thank you for the positive feedback. Jason, I don't. It's DBT app, and if you go to my blog, just look in the archives for the DBT app review, because I have a link exactly to it and a picture of the little icon that you can look for to make sure you're getting the right app. So I can't think of the name of it. We do, JB. We all belong to each other here. You're right. Thank you that you're happy I'm feeling better. I don't think you can use the app just on a laptop, Mitchie. That's a good question. DBT Diary Card from the Apple Store, Ash is saying, is the name of it. Oh, Jason, my blog is at healingfrombpd.org. And I see Borderline Babe told you that already. Let's see. Rachel, do it with the self-soothing Pinterest board and send me the link. If I think you're on Twitter, right? Is this the Rachel that's from Twitter? Let's see. I'm being asked to please do one of these again. Next time I'll be more mindful of that. Ladies, you hear me about the lip gloss line? Okay. Thank you for all this positive feedback. I'm scrolling through. I'm scrolling through. Are you planning on doing any electronic copies of them? Borderline Babe, the books are only available electronically right now. So they are ready to be downloaded and read. Jenny, as far as how long it takes to heal, that's an individual walk for each person, and it's taken me about 3 years to no longer meet the criteria for a diagnosis of borderline personality disorder, but it's going to be different for everybody. Okay, I shouldn't have pointed it out because people didn't notice until I said something, evidently. I really appreciate that you guys feel like I'm offering something that's hard to find elsewhere, and I'm really glad it can be helpful. Thank you, Linda. Rachel says she's my own little stalker on Facebook. Darlene, I don't know if you were asking me, but I was mentioning earlier my favorite skills are self-soothing and opposite action. There's no way there are 49 people on here. JB, cut it out. Are you serious? Jenny, I totally get the frustration of having all 9 criteria and hating it and hating having it. Um, that's a totally normal reaction, in my opinion. I don't think anybody would disagree. And just accepting that and accepting the emotional reaction and feeling that you're having to this initially, having such an intense reaction to me says that you want to change it. So that should be a hopeful thing, hopefully, because when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired is when you finally start to make changes and shift your life. And you don't have to be held down by this BPD. It's not something that you have to live with at the intensity level that it's at now for the rest of your life. And I can just share that from personal experience. So please have hope around that. Emma, opposite action, I was just talking about it, is when you have an emotion like, let's say, fear, and the action that usually comes with fear is hiding or being reclusive, and the opposite action to that would be to get out there and do something. So you're doing the opposite behavior to whatever behavior that emotion normally gives. So if anger, if you feel really angry, the usual action that would go with anger is lashing out. So if you wanted to change the emotion of anger, instead of lashing out, you would do something to calm down or even be a little bit kind. So it's doing the opposite to emotion action. Ash says that I'm a master validator. I want someone to put that on a certificate. No, I'm kidding. No, I've just learned. Oh, thank you for that. I've just learned that it's so important to all of us. And most of the time we walk through life without people acknowledging how hard we're trying and what we're going through and the efforts that we make. And so when I see something or notice something, especially when someone's hurting, I want them to know they're not alone, and I want them to know that I see you matter, you count, and what you're doing counts for something. You know what I mean? So I think if we all went around that way, acknowledging each other, we'd have a healthier society, honestly. There's a video that Amanda Smith from My Dialectical Life, some of you are familiar with her, has sent out recently, and she's put in another email before. It's called Validation. If you go on YouTube, look for it. It's like the validation movie. It will make you cry, but it will make you feel so good, most likely, because it's all about this guy who like goes out of his way to validate people in his life. That he works at like a ticket booth or something at a train station. You just totally have to see it. It's free. It's on YouTube. What sounds terrifying, Emma? Rachel, it says that I'm recording this, so that it's possible that there will be a way for your husband to watch it afterward. I have no clue because this is my first time using UStream, so as soon as I figure it out, I'll let you guys know. Ashes, MLA, I'm sorry that your audio cut out when I was responding to you. I hope that maybe your peers can kind of like catch you up on it. Yeah, I get that a lot, borderline babe, with people with where they live. The practitioners don't really know much about borderline. I had someone tell me that they ask for DBT and the practitioners didn't know what it was, which is just like amazing to me in this day and age. Oh, Emma, I know. Early on when I started getting DBT, and because I have been like the poster child for borderline personality disorder for the past few years between my blog and everything else that I do out there, that I started to get afraid of recovery because I thought if I don't have borderline or if I don't meet the criteria anymore, who am I? Like, what is my purpose going to be and what am I going to do with myself? But it wasn't until I let go of that and accepted that I'm going to have to shift and I'm going to have to figure out what to do with my life and where to go from here and how I'm going to serve the greater good and use these skills in a way to help people and heal myself, not heal myself, but heal as well. Um, it wasn't until then that like the doors really started opening mentally that allowed me to move forward with healing because if I held on to that piece and worried about who I would be stuck sick, you know what I mean? I'd be stuck in the symptoms and being that person that I was trying to grow and heal and move on and if that makes any sense at all. Thank you guys. Yeah, I know. The expectation for perfection, that's another thing I think we get kind of those distorted thoughts and think we have to be perfect all the time or someone's going to leave or not love us. I've definitely been there with those kinds of thoughts. Linda, wow. Linda was diagnosed in 1987 when no one even knew what it was about. I don't know if you guys saw the movie I'm so sorry, I just totally went blank, but saw the movie Girl Interrupted with Winona Ryder and Angelina Jolie. I think that was set in the 60s when the character that Ryder played had BPD, and they institutionalized you back then for things like that, And so we've just come so far. And when I was saying in my most recent video that when I got diagnosed in the late 90s, it was only like a few years after DBT had even been developed by Dr. Marsha Linehan. So they didn't know what it was either. And they certainly had no record or like therapists didn't really have any idea that people could really get better from this or that DBT was as effective as it really is because it was too early on. Change is scary, Mitchie. Change is scary, but then you have to ask yourself, am I content with where things are right now and where they are or do I need to change? Do I need to allow myself to have that experience as scary as it is? Aw, thanks, Mitchie. Linda, I've heard that too before, and I think it's a very unprofessional, horrible response when people say that they put people under borderline diagnosis because they can't fit them anywhere else. I think that's totally irresponsible, invalidating, and unfair to the patient. That's just not how. I just totally disagree with that whole philosophy. Rachel, you were recently diagnosed. Jason, I actually don't do peer support by by email or anything like that right now, but I do want to tell you there's a woman named Amparo Penny. I'm going to put her name in here. She is a licensed clinical therapist who does online therapy. She also has a Twitter account, which is at Amparo Penny. And it's like ridiculously affordable, so you can talk to a real therapist because I can't provide that. You know what I mean? And I can only do so much within my boundary shell of giving and putting out there and receiving and helping other people to keep myself feeling safe and stable emotionally and regulated too. So, Amparo Penny, she's a licensed clinical therapist, and for I feel like I'm doing like an infomercial now, but seriously, for like $20 you email her the whole situation, and then you have unlimited correspondence with her about the issue or the situation. And she's like trained in DBT, CBT, all of these different things, and she does like the instant message as well, or the chat. She has like a chat room, so I would refer to looking into her. Yeah, Emma, actually, when I went into IOP, I even suggested and said I think I might have this, and I was terrified because I noticed that how many of the symptoms like all of them, that I was experiencing. So good for you for advocating for yourself, for noticing that, and for, bringing it to their attention so that you can get the help that you need. Oh, Jason says he doesn't need extra therapy. He has a business question for you. Oh, okay. There is on my blog, if you go under contact, there's information for contacting regarding advertising or media questions. So that's what that's for. So it's at healingfrombpd.org and then click on the contact. So, guys, I have to wrap it up. I don't want to, though. It's so nice to be with you. I really wish I could hear you guys and see you too. So, maybe we should also try a Google Hangout. I've never done that before, but from what I understand, we could actually see each other. I've also signed up for another program that will allow us to do that, so we could try that as well. I think it's called All Meetings, so bear with me because all of this type of thing, doing live streaming, is very, very new to me. So thank you all for staying, for being patient, for dealing through the technical difficulties, for your questions, for your encouragement, and for supporting each other. I couldn't see like every little thing that was going on in here. I tried my best to keep up or to go back and scroll through. But you were supporting each other this whole time. Like, I wish that these old school, especially psychiatrists and psychologists who claim that we're these vicious monsters and that people who have borderline personality disorder are just like completely screwed up and have no empathy. I wish that they could have a snapshot of some of the conversations that we have, like on Twitter and in here and in Facebook and all of those things. My phone is ringing. Hang on. I'm sorry about that. Comcast cable does not need to talk to me right now. I wish they could have a snippet of what was going on in here in this room. Hello, New Zealand. And see what we're really about. Hurting people who are trying to help each other. You know what I mean? This is like, we need to break these stigmas, and this is part of my life's mission, honestly, is to be a part of doing that. So thank you guys. I'm reading through all these things. Lovely to meet you too. I wish I could just give you all a big, huge squeeze and hug and love. So I'm virtually sending that to you. I hope that you can feel it. I care about each and every one of you. It's made my day. It's made my whole weekend pretty much that you took the time out of your life to log in here and be with me and connect and ask questions and make really nice comments and talk to your peers. So I can't thank you enough for that. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, I'm wrapping it up. Mwah. Bye, guys. I will probably be on Twitter later if you want to connect a little bit more. But God, we've been here for a while and it's been fun. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.